You were 9 years old then. How did you think about it and talk about it in the years that came after? Did you talk about it with others?
No, I really didn't. Because we were so, the people who had children, children were just playing, would be together, and the grown-ups would be talking. However, we were around them. We were a family, but when they would be, they didn't even talk about it too much after it was over. I mean, they were so glad that it stopped, and they had the possibility of rebuilding. That was in our businessmen's mind, and the people who did build. And at that time, my grandfather was a carpenter, and he fixed houses out this way along with other carpenters, Negro carpenters. And so we were just happy to be able to be here and start over.
Did you know families that had been prosperous and kind of leading families before the riot who were ruined by it?
Yes. Well, not just no families, but, well, our doctors and our teachers and some of the ministers of some of the churches. But then I just didn't know them all like that. And their children, some of them that didn't have children. And those that did, I didn't meet those kids until after I got in high school, who was here.
But did it change the economic situation of the community?
It really didn't. It didn't change you mean with the community that I lived in? Just the whole...
I mean, so you were from a working class family, right?
Yes.
But there must have been a whole community of the well-to-do people who had their businesses on Greenwood Avenue, right?
The Negro.
Right. So, and their finances must have been wiped out by that.
Well, I don't know how what they had left as far as money to rebuild, but after a few years it was rebuilt. Never was like it was, but they had nice buildings there, and we still had our own dentists, our own doctors, and our undertakers, because we weren't allowed to go across and the Archie. We were on this side of Archie, and that's where the boundary line I call was. But we could go downtown, but we couldn't go over there to get any kind of service. Only there was little stores there, like downtown. You could go to the stores and the dry goods stores, things like that. But we just weren't allowed over, not even go to a movie or eat downtown. We couldn't do anything like that.
How did that affect the way that you looked at the white establishment in Tulsa? The newspaper, the white-run newspaper, and police, the mayor. Did it change your view, or did it just confirm a view that you had?
My view was still confirmed. I mean, I was just, I was glad it was over, but for a while, I was still frightened. But I knew I felt safe, and it just didn't really make me concerned more about the safety of us, of Tulsa, than I was already. Because I felt when it was all over and the rebuilding of Greenwood started and the people were going to work as usual, that things were just, it was all right. Getting to be okay again.
How many people came back? Did everyone come back? Or most people?
That lived here, most of them came back because they had property, or where the houses were. A lot of them lost their homes and lost everything they had.
You were just a kid then, but do you remember any people trying to get compensation or trying to get justice or going to court? Do you remember any of the things that were going on then? So how did your attitude develop over the years? You didn't talk about it much when you were a kid.
I didn't, it grew, my attitude about it grew less and less because being a child and we didn't talk about it then, so it just became kind of a fade out in the children then in their lives. And I believe in most of the, after the business part of Greenwood, after they